So welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name is Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk and UK Astrologer. Today we've got a fabulous guest. We've got Peter Stockinger and he is a traditional astrologer and we're going to be chatting with him today to find out what he does. We're going to talk a little bit about one of his books and I want to ask you about, I'm going to open with asking you, what's cosmobiology?
Cosmobiology was a particular form of astrology that was invented and practiced by somebody called Reinhold Ebertin. And it is something that is very, very different because they do not have houses. It's all planetary. It's mainly working with midpoints,
Mm-hmm.
and it is also using a lot of what they call 45-degree uh, ephemeris and 45-degree dials. So it's
Good.
very, very different from our usual astrology, and it goes a lot into the psychological direction.
Cool. Okay, because you were born in Austria and then in Vienna, and then you studied cosmobiology, and then you moved to the UK in 1998. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the transit that was happening for you that made you want to move to the UK? I checked Saturn was in Aries at that point, which is where it is now. But do you know what the motivator astrologically for you? Well, what was the motivator? There's me asking you. What was the motivator for you to come to the UK? What was that all about?
I got married to my wife, who is English.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a good reason.
Yeah, and we moved to Wales because at the time she lived in Wales, and I went there and fell in love with the place too. So we lived there for quite a while.
Uh-huh.
Then we decided to move back to England, closer to her family.
Cool. Okay. And how did you meet to start with?
Well, it was because of writing actually, because I was getting in contact back in these days. It was all via letter, snail mail, as they call it these days. Who wrote the book that I was interested in, and then I came over and visited her, and she said, "Oh, well, there's somebody else who's interested in all that stuff we are interested in. Why don't you go to Wales?" And I wanted to go anyway. So we got introduced, and then she came and visited me in Austria. And then we took it from there. We decided to live in Wales then together.
Excellent. Okay, so talk me through how did you first even hear about astrology and get interested in it? How old were you then?
Probably about 10 or 12. I started being interested in all weird and esoteric things, and as you do, it's all very interesting and very exciting. And that was actually the divination method that stuck or that resonated most with me. I did tarot cards and so on, but that was something that really interested me from the start.
Hmm.
And I tried, as you said, I tried to find somebody in Vienna who could teach me, and that was somebody who had a bookshop there that stocked loads and loads of astrological books, and he was also somehow involved in the local astrological group, and he was a cosmobiologist, and this is of course what we did together
Hmm.
when he taught me, and this is why I really started off with cosmobiology.
And you made a living from that then?
No, no, no,
Hmm.
not
What was your
not.
regular job then?
I am a trained horticulturalist.
Oh, outside plants.
Yes, and
Mm.
I had my own business in Vienna, shops and
Hmm.
a horticultural business, glass houses and all that.
Mm. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, because you're a sun sign Leo.
Yes.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting you got your Mercury miles away It's miles. It's actually miles away from your sun sign in Virgo. It couldn't be further away, actually. It's quite hold on, what degree is it? Your Mercury is something like uh 9 degrees, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, and your sun sign is 12 degrees dear. So it's quite a considerable distance away from your sun sign. But with it being in Virgo, okay, so that makes sense then because you're very, very good at the details of things, yeah. So you're not going to cut any corners. You're going to be writing things, and because you have authored more than one book, so that's where the writing comes from, the Mercury in Virgo. But I know you don't do outer planets, but I was going, oh look, your Mercury's sandwiched between Uranus and Pluto. You're the spokesperson for your generation because you're born in 1964, so you're the generation that then gave birth to the Indigo generation. We won't go into that, it's a different thing altogether. But your generation, so with you having your Mercury there, you're the spokesperson. You can communicate with your generation. So people that are also born in 1964, you'll have that ability to be able to communicate with them. Love that. I thought that was a nice part of your job. So what was the first book that you wrote?
The first book was a translation of one of the first German books in the vernacular about astrology.
Whoa, okay.
So and from that on, after that, the next one then was the book about William Lilly that I wrote together with Sue Ward.
Hmm.
And I have to say that my whole all the books that I'm writing are based on my interest in cultural astronomy, if you take it as the in the widest sense. So I'm always interested in the history about things, the history about astrology. What did people think about it? What was the cosmological principle behind it? So this is the red thread that really runs through all the books that I have published and hopefully still will publish.
Absolutely still will. And then so you practice what we call medieval astrology, is that right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, medieval till early modern, really. Lily was the last one then, really, so to speak.
Okay, so the house system would be Placidus or?
Regio Montanus.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Is that what they use then?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But I
Okay.
always think you can only understand the teachings of somebody if you use all the tools that they used. And
Yes. Well, you want me to write it on your computer then? You'll have to use a fountain pen or something, or a quill, and sort of because writing was much slower then. You couldn't write fast. It would be physically impossible to. The
well,
printing press and whatever wasn't invented till much later. Yeah.
except if you have a magical quill like Lily had.
Did he? What did he have?
Ashmole apparently made him one and gave it to him as a present. And the legend goes that he always used this magical quill to write with.
Cool. Okay. I wonder what was magical about it. Does it still exist?
I do not know. I
Mhm,
have perhaps in the Ashmolean Museum. We would have to ask. I don't
mhm.
know.
Oh, that's the one in Oxford, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going there in a few months' time with a friend of mine because I want to look at the astrolabes.
You
I
could have.
don't. Do they still have them on exhibition there?
I don't know.
Right.
I really don't know.
I know they've got them stored. Whether or not they're visible, I don't. I do know they have them somewhere in there. But I'm going with a friend of mine. Oh, okay, so I can check that out as well. So you're writing. What I'd like to ask you about today is that you've written this lovely book, Stars and Stones, yeah. And in it, you're talking. You're covering all the things like the temperaments and the planets and the houses and stuff. But take me through crystals, gemstones, and metals. Like, what did astrologers or what do astrologers do with those? Do they match them up to the planets? Do they match them up? How do you decide, so to speak, what crystal or metal or whatever you're going to use? Because I think lead is, oh, now I can't remember the planet. What's the planet that covers lead?
Saturn.
Saturn, right? Okay, because that's a serious planet. So those are ancient correspondences, yes?
Yeah. Well, let's go, for example, with Thursday. Today's Thursday, so that would be the Jupiter day.
Hmm.
And we would that the color that was allocated to Jupiter was purple. So we would have, for example, the amethyst. That would be a typical Jupiter stone.
Hmm.
So
And
it
then do you make so how so if you were doing a reading for a client back
yeah.
then, so how would they sort of bring the crystals into it? Talk me through it. You're the astrologer now.
What you do is you first establish the temperament of the client. I mean, this is something that I still do if somebody comes for a natal reading. First thing is that I establish the temperament.
Hmm.
So we get a good idea about it, what is missing, because it's always interesting to back up what is missing, because we do not want to have too much of one thing. We want to have the four temperaments relatively equaled out, which gives a better, more general personality.
So the temperaments are choleric, melancholic, sanguine, and phlegmatic, yes? Okay. And so then you'll decide with your client which one they probably haven't got much, I don't
Yeah,
know, phlegmatic or whatever, yeah? Hmm.
so that shows us, that gives us a first broad hint where there could be some problems in these people's life. So then the next thing that I do is I look at the essential dignities and the essential debilities, which gives us another hint to, if we find out that a planet is very highly debilitated, then we want to strengthen that planet. And this goes, of course, according to the traditional astrological rules, with the usual symbolism, what the different planets are standing for. And if that matches with the temperament, then we have won, because then we can find out which gemstone is corresponding to the planet that we want to enhance,
Hmm.
and take it from there. People can then do, they can either wear the jewelry, or they can have essences, or they can make talismans or magical rings, whatever suits. From we
Hmm.
take it from there then.
Okay. And so you're using medieval astrology in inverted commas like the modern world. We're now 2026. So God, this is a silly question now, but say somebody's got ADHD and they've got like attention deficit disorder and they can't concentrate on something. So, is there some sort of a crystal that would assist with that? Or again, are you going to still be looking at the choleric, melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic? Yeah.
Because you have to drill a bit further down into the person's deeper issues.
Mm.
It's not so easy that somebody can say, "Well, I'm not telling you anything about me. I'm giving you my birth data, and you tell me what stone I should wear, and that solves all my problems." There is actually quite a bit of work necessary to really find out where the overarching problems are, and then we can find out what can be done. Well, you can of course do all this in a for a shorter time span, if you're enough astrologically advanced that you can follow your transits.
Hmm.
Then of course you can say, well, I have a bad Venus transit, so I'm going to wear the appropriate stone to enhance that. And so, for example, we have a Scorpio full moon coming up.
Oh, yes.
Scorpio moon is in her fall in Scorpio. So if people should be worried about that, out with the moonstone, the selenite, and that should help to level things out a bit.
Hmm. Okay. But you've got Moon in Gemini,
Yes.
and in Equal House, that's hidden in the eighth. So you've got a chatty moon. I've got moon in Gemini as well, by the way. So you've got a chatty moon, but in Equal House, you've got it hidden in a bit. So even though it's chatty, you're not going to chat to just anybody. So you're not going to sit on the bus and yak with someone, which I might do. You're going to keep your feelings to yourself. But you've got that moon in Gemini anyway, which means you're a good communicator. Actually, does that form a square to your Mercury? No, but okay. It's okay. Good, good, good. Okay. And so you're going to analyze the chart, but you're going to use the Regiomontanus house system. Yeah. You're going to use all the planets, but you're not going to use the modern ones, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which probably you don't need to do
No, no.
you? No.
There's a reason why they are called transpersonal planets, because they might have an effect on a generation, but not on the individual.
Hmm. Yes, but what happens if you've got an outer planet conjunct an inner planet, like Moon conjunct Pluto or something?
I wouldn't know
Right.
because of
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so with the clients that you're working with and you're using the crystal, what even prompted you to do the book to start with then? Where did you get the inspiration? Oh, it's a fabulous book, by the way, but where did you get the inspiration for it?
pro it sounds petty, but I was looking on the internet and I found out that a million jewelers are coming up with made up ideas what their crystals are good for or good against, and they always allocate them to star signs. And this is something that really hooked me because traditionally, if you read the old sources, you can go back to Hildegard of Bingen, wherever you want, they always allocated them to planets.
To planets, right.
So there is no such thing as a Scorpio stone,
Mm,
Mars stone.
mm,
So that hooked me, and I thought, well, somebody has to write this. And the other thing was that there is a good traditional lore in India and in Indian astrology. And everybody said, well, they have that and we don't. And so I wanted to put the record straight on that as well and thought, well, this needs to be resurrected.
mm,
There's a good European lore, only everybody has forgotten about it.
mm.
So that these were the two motivators.
Okay. You didn't do it during a Mercury retrograde, I take it.
No.
No, okay. It's just that you used the word resurrected. You wanted to bring it back. Oh, okay. It's really interesting. And so you've got some chart examples in there, and like are these clients that you're referring to in the text?
There are clients, but it's all totally anonymized. The names are changed and so on and so forth, and with their permission.
Sure. But give me just a little example of somebody that you've spoken about in the book and what happened with them. Can you do that, or is that
Well,
I'm asking you to summarize too quickly?
there was one chap who was quite artistic, and he wanted to make his own talisman.
Mhm.
So we found out what his problems were. We found out what we could do about it. And so I gave him all the information what should be on the talisman. And he created in the talisman himself and gave me permission to reproduce it in the book. So who is really interested can see in the book. It's one of the cases, the case studies,
Mm,
what he made of it, and it obviously helped.
cool. And did he get his inspiration back?
How they mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The feedback was positive. It really helped.
Cool. Okay, because it's the talismans and sigils, I think they're called, or sigils or something. There's a guy called Dean Radin. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's in the US and his research is in psychic ability and all the rest of it. But he's written some books about magic, and in one of his latest books, he talks about things like creating a sigil or creating a talisman. And so he's used evidence and like proper scientific evidence that these things do work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but there's like six things you've got to do. You've got to sort of believe it's going to happen. You've got to sort of energize whatever it is. You have to what's the other thing? You have to like be focused on it, but be relaxed in the focusing of it. And these are all things that, and he talks a little bit, not a lot, because he's not an astrologer. It's nothing to do with astrology, but he sort of talks about, how things were happened back in the day, but obviously no government or whatever wants people to be doing stuff like that, or the NHS and stuff. So these things are sort of suppressed and stuff, but they do work. So I thought it was lovely that, as you say, that you've resurrected this so that people can learn. It's a very, very interesting book. There's tons of information in there, and you've given chart examples as well, so that you're bringing the reality into it. And it's written beautifully. I think your writing style is really great. Must
So,
take you hours.
yeah, it is a lot of work. There is the research and the writing takes a while.
Mm. Okay, so we'll put the link to the book so people will be able to have it and explore it themselves. So you're working on a new book at the moment?
Yes, yes. I mean, the one about the lunar mansions has come out last year.
Hmm.
Working on a new one, and that will be about popes and their astrologers.
Ooh, okay.
So that will be well researched as usual, but there are some very interesting things that might even go into the gossipy direction because they did wild things, the popes and the astrologers. There's a lot of stuff that has been going on that has not been so much reported.
Mm,
Was apparently, of course, astrology is a no-no for Christians, for Catholics,
mm,
clergy, and for
mm.
popes.
But they all had them, especially they had a lot in Italy. I think it was like in the European countries they had them. Well, obviously because the Pope's going to hang about in the Vatican and stuff. Because I've just read, well, I'm always reading books on the history of astrology, but I'm just finished another one. And yes, what the Popes got up to with their astrology, because they'd want to have an astrologer, and if the astrologer was playing the game, but if the astrologer said too much or appeared to have too much power, that's it. They ended up
Yeah,
killing them. Yeah, they didn't just sack them. A lot of them got
that
killed.
the most famous there was Morandi, who was silenced. Then in the end, he was he did one last prophecy, and that was one too much, and that was his end. Then
Mm. Because it's a double-edged sword as well, isn't it? It's sort of not really fair on the astrologer. If they're rubbish and they get everything wrong, then they get into a bad time. But if they're good and they do things, then again they're sort of criticised. You think, well, nobody can win there.
yeah, so it's has always been like that. This is, for example, why uh, in horary astrology considerations before judgment were invented, because if the astrologers saw uh, that there was something going to happen that he did not want to tell the king or whoever, then he said, "Oh, sorry, consideration before judgment, unreliable. I'm not going to say anything," because he knew that it would probably upset the king, the ruler, so much that he would probably have been given the job.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, I have because I've read the book by God, my mind's gone blank. He's a Virgo, is that right? And he's written about horary astrology, plain and simple. I think it's the name of the book.
Yeah,
Anthony Lewis, that's it, Anthony Lewis. Yes, the judgment before. And then the other thing is, well, you can't have an ascendant that's too small or too big. So a 2-degree ascendant, you're
yeah,
not, the answer isn't, so the question hasn't been formed. And if it's really, really late, like 29 degrees, then the thing's already passed. I have used those charts. I don't use them much because I don't do a lot of medieval astrology. But I have used those charts, and that actually is it does work. Yeah, you can't ask the question with a really early ascendant. Like, ugh.
There's
Um,
one caveat if Lily says that if the age of the client is the same number as the ascendant in late degrees, then it is still possible to judge it.
Ooh, that's a new one. Hadn't heard of that. So if somebody was 29 years old and they've got and then their horary chart is 29 degrees, oh, you can still use it. Oh, okay. These are interesting little snippets. Hadn't heard that one. So how do you manage with that Scorpio ascendant?
It's difficult. It's difficult, but I try to rein it in.
Because it's a very shy ascendant sign to have,
Yeah,
but your sun sign is Leo, which isn't shy, and your sun's very high in your chart. I mean, in equal houses turning is conjuncture MC. Is that in your system that you're using? Yeah, so your work is going to be really important for you. But that terribly shy
yeah,
Scorpio ascendant. How do you deal with those two parts in your chart?
yeah, it is really difficult. But I think you're right when you said that I'm pretty much open with people and chat to people who I know or who are selected. I could not, like you said, I couldn't sit on the bus and be the soul of the party. And I am a very shy person. I mean, you're lucky that you got me, dragged me in front of the screen because usually I'm very shy.
Mm.
And my Mars doesn't help either there.
What's your Mars doing? Your Mars is 3 degrees Cancer.
Yeah, Cancer Mars is a bit of a problem as well there. So I will not brandish the sword and pierce my enemies. I'll probably hide behind a pillar.
Because you've got another planet that's 3 degrees as well. You've got your Saturn's 3 degrees in Pisces.
Yeah.
So you've had your second Saturn return, yes. Because now it's gone into Aries, and that's 3 degrees as well. But they form a nice, what we form in a trine, sextile, Saturn, trine. Yes, friendly, water signs.
There must be some good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad that I have two that my Sun and my Mercury are both essentially dignified by sign rulership. That's nice.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, the sun's happy in Leo and Mercury's very, very happy in Virgo. I mean, I've got Jupiter in Capricorn. How horrible is that? Ugh. I've got Saturn in Capricorn as well, but Jupiter in Capricorn, yeah, we won't talk about that. So the astrology that you do, so you see clients, do you see them face to face or do you work with them online?
It's mainly online because they're all over the world, so it's online.
And do you do live consultations with people?
Yes, I can do that as well. I usually sit around and work it all out for myself and write reports, but there's always the option to do it online.
hmm And in the reports that you write for people, so you're sending them like pictures of the chart and then text and stuff to, uh-huh.
PDFs. It comes as a PDF email attachment, and they can print it out or read it online.
hmm So now going back to psychology, yes. So I'm um part of the Astrological Association. I'm a trustee for them, and I'm part of a subcommittee that looks after our astrological library. I don't know if you've heard about it, but we've got a physical library and we've got an online library. So the online library, they've scanned lots of books like William Lilly and blah, blah, blah. They've scanned the actual books. And one of our members is going to be giving a talk about psychological astrology because people say that it only started with Liz Green. His talks are about the fact that the psychology, no, dates back back to the year dot, sort of people talking about the personality of the person and etc. isn't a modern thing, it's an ancient thing. So
Yeah.
he's going to be giving talks about that. So in the medieval era and the type of astrology that you do, when you're talking about the psychology things, are you talking about like the character of the person and their wants and likes and stuff? Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, yeah. It's in the typical natal astrology, the natal readings. That it's like I start with the temperament, and then I go through listed according to the houses and go around and see what planets are in there and so on, and then talking about a lot about hmm, talking about a lot about the sixth house stuff as well, and how this all ties in, and the rulership of illnesses, just a general once round the 12 houses.
Hmm. And do you do decumbiture charts as well?
Yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah, because one of our trustees loves decumbiture. Decumbiture is the moment that you get ill, that you take to your bed, so to speak. And actually, if people know when that happened, that's a very useful thing. Do you use those? Do you find them useful?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely works. But most of what I'm asked is elections for surgery, or for when shall I go and see the doctor, when shall I have this procedure done, if they have a choice, of course.
Mm.
That,
Which you don't always have on the NHS, no. Mm.
it's the same in America. So if that's any consolation, there's terrible problems with not getting the appointments done, and oh, the surgeon has gone on holiday. You have to
Mm.
and things like that. So that seems to be the same all over the world.
And what do you enjoy the most about it? Talk me through the things that you love the most.
I mean, generally in
In
astrology,
astrology, yes.
well, it's such a fascinating subject, and it really I like it from a historical point of view, because you find out over and over again that our forefathers were not stupid at all. They knew perfectly well what they were doing. And on the other end of the spectrum, I love working with clients, because it's really fascinating for me to see how they approach astrology, particularly if they have not been really in contact with a proper astrologer, if you want to say so. And a high degree of my clients are returning clients, and they recommend a lot of new people who have not been exposed to proper astrological readings, or astrological help. And it's a wonderful thing to see if you that you can help people with what you've learned and what you like to do.
Mhm. And how do you manage with the people that don't know what time they were born?
I do chart rectifications as well.
Oh gosh, wow. Okay, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
I do. I'm brave, and
You're
I,
what?
I'm brave.
Yes, I wouldn't even attempt it. I wouldn't know where to start. Well, I do know where to start because you've got to cover things like deaths and marriage and house moves and
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I let them write a long, long list of all the stuff that happened to them, and it's very, very difficult actually, because if you write it all down, you will be surprised how many people write what happened to their husbands, their children, their parents, their wives, and then I have to go back and say, no, I can only tell you. You have to tell me what happened to you, when
You.
you were ill, when did you move house first, when did you meet your husband, because it's very, very difficult for people to separate that from the me from the us.
Mm,
Oh, and then my father died. Well, it's very sad, but we cannot rectify your birth time solely on that.
mm,
You have to tell me when you had the accident or when you broke your leg, and then with different techniques like primary directions and other things, we can find out how this reflects on the birth time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because as you know, I live in the UK and there's so many people that don't know what time they're born. I just do 6 a.m. and I tell them I'm just going to use whole sign 6 a.m. just so that I know what signs that the planets are in, so we can sort of work out transits. I don't pretend to know how to rectify. So but there's still an awful lot that you can determine
Yeah.
just knowing the signs that things are in, what sign your moon's in, what sign your sun's in, and the aspects between them, because they don't change too much in the day. The moon might move a bit, well, will move a bit, but yeah, I'll be doing that. But chart rectifier, deep respect, okay? So, but then you've done a lot of studying like that. I haven't done this deep study like yourself, yeah. We've had Chris Mitchell on the podcast, who's also a medieval astrologer, who also is with the Astrological Association, and it's a hell of a lot of study.
It is.
And yeah, I don't think I've got the brain power for it actually. I don't have the right cerebellum or whatever you call it. So yeah, it's lovely that you have this ability. Yeah. And the time to devote to doing it because it's time consuming, yeah.
It's absolutely. But I also tell you why I think it's important, particularly for my work, to find out the correct birth time, because I do a lot of annual predictions, solar return charts, and so on. And again, a lot of the primary directions have a huge impact on what on the timing of what is going to happen in the year to come. And if you get, particularly with primaries, if you get the time of birth wrong by about 5 minutes, it knocks you out by months.
Mm.
So as some sort of self-preservation, I want to get the time of birth as correct as possible, because then I can predict closer to the time what's going to happen in the year to come.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to want to with Mercury and Virgo anyway, be precise.
Yeah.
My Mercury, I think mine's debilitated or whatever. It's retrograde in Pisces. So there's no hope for me. And so tell me about your first reading you ever did. What was that like for you?
Oh, I have to think back a long time, but do you mean professionally or
Hmm.
telling,
Hmm.
telling my parents what was wrong with them?
No, your first professional one. Can you remember?
Um, no.
Or can you remember any early ones that you did? Were there concerns for yourself? What was it like to actually now all this knowledge and then to be reading for someone? What was that like for you?
It, a bit scary, but like you have covered before, if you are a shy person, then and you put yourself on the line, it has to be scary in a way. And it's still scary, to be honest, because with every horary that you do,
Mhm.
if you're wrong, you're wrong. That's it. Then it's another one that speaks against astrology as a whole. You have to be careful, because you are representing a craft, an art here, and you if you don't do the best to everything to the best of your abilities, it doesn't only feed back on you. It always it comes back onto our whole astrological community. People, if they're disappointed, they pay money for something and then it doesn't work out, then they say, oh well, it's probably all rubbish anyway.
Mm.
Luckily, it hasn't happened very much. I mean, nobody's always right, but it's really, it is a you are on the edge. all the time. If somebody says, will it happen or not,
Mm.
you have to get your thinking cap on and sit there until you find out to your best ability and tell people.
Mm.
It's a responsibility because if people take you up on it and act accordingly, it's a great responsibility. As you know, of course, because you're doing it yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I think in all my career, I've only refunded somebody once. They weren't happy with the reading that I had, so I just said, "Well, I'll give you your money back, and we'll just sort of." It wasn't that what was. It's just I think it was the wrong time for them to have the reading, so they weren't prepared to. Well, maybe I didn't do a good enough job, whatever, but they were pretty cross about something that was going on for them that I couldn't resolve for them. And so I said, well, I'll just give you money back. And that was that. And that's only ever happened once. But I think for me, it's important when I do work with a client that actually want to have the reading, that they're not doing it for fun,
Yeah.
because I don't do fun. If you want fun, then just have a psychic reading, but if you want an astrology reading, you've got to at least have some knowledge of what it will involve. Yeah. Because yeah, there's a lot to take into account and to explain to people as well if they don't know a lot about it. And then because the podcast that I do is learn astrology, it's the beginner stuff. When you're right at the beginning and you are learning, yes, you need to practice with friends and family and stuff, and maybe give little readings for people here and there. But a lot of people, when they're learning it, are so nervous about actually working with someone for the very same reasons that you said. They might make a mistake, they might get something wrong. But for me, I'm not worrying about those things. I'm worrying about other stuff. um, yeah, I don't think I worry too much about being wrong. What I worry about is I probably haven't heard what's needed. And so I
Yeah.
might extend the session until we get to what
Yeah.
is needed. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And also, I ask people before they have the consultation, what is it that you want to know in this reading? What's uppermost for you? So that's what we're focusing on, so you can have a resolution to that. Yeah. But the readings I do are completely different to yours. Don't worry. Yeah. Um, because medieval astrology is tackling things in a different way. And as I say, it's much more in depth. And anyway, if you're going to go see an astrologer with a Scorpio ascendant, I should think you want in depth. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Which you said it comes out in the book as well. No? There are the fine print, the fine details that enhance the enhance the outcome, the quality of the outcome.
Mm. And you've got Neptune in your first house, and you're not using the outer planets. Because I looked at your chart and I thought, oh, Neptune. It's not conjunct your ascendant, I don't think. So
No, it is.
Neptune, no,
No,
no, it's out of form. But it is in your first house, and it is in the sign of Scorpio, and that's a sort of psychic planet.
yeah,
Neptune, and in Scorpio as well. It's like you're going to be zoning in on someone like do 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 do. But now I've got a sister and my husband are both, and my best friend have all got Neptune in the first house, different signs, etc. And my sister is always telling me that when you have Neptune in the first house, she's not an astrologer, but she knows a lot. When you've got Neptune in the first house, people will have this image of you that might not be who you are, because obviously Neptune could sort of
yeah,
make things a bit more sort of fuzzy and stuff. And I was sort of thinking, oh, that's interesting that people can have this, like maybe put you on a pedestal or that type of thing, because Neptune's the planet that can alter, deception, delusion, disillusion, that type of stuff. Yeah. But I love talking to medieval astrologers. So I thought, how can you ignore the outer? Because I love the outer planets. Okay, I think they're very important, but that they're not personal. Yeah, they definitely are generational, and depending on where they're located affects stuff. But you can still do readings, obviously still do. You can still use the, what do you call them? Saturnian planets in this. What,
Oh,
so what,
the trans-Saturnian
yeah.
in cosmobiology, yeah, yeah.
And so is astrology different in Austria to it being here? Do they demand different things from their astrologers?
I couldn't tell you what it is now because I've lived here for 30 years, and back then the world was a different place. There was no internet. There was nothing like that. So I could really not tell you. It was
Mm,
I, I don't know what professional astrologers really did at the time, how they went about it, because there was no there was just the chap with the shop I was telling you about who taught me. He had a plotter. People didn't even have printers in these days. He had a plotter, and people could go there and they could have their birth chart printed out or plotted out. And he only did that because he wanted to get at people's details so that he could collect a big mass of people's data so that he could work out what he wanted to work out. So it was some sort of, if you give me your data, then I print your chart out. And it was such a novelty that people came from far and wide to have that done. So everything else had to be done by hand. There
mm.
was no app on the phone. And
Ephemeris? Yeah.
started I started out like that with colored pencils and photocopied blank charts and ephemeris tables. That's how it was. And it took an awful lot longer than nowadays, where we just hit a button. But I was
Mm.
recommended to anybody nowadays, if you want to learn astrology, start it in that way, draw your own charts, because it teaches you more than anything else.
Yes,
Start
because you're physically doing it. It's not just an image in your mind, it's a reality, yeah?
to memorize an awful lot more.
Mm.
So that is my, as an old astrologer, that is my advice. Start with paper and pen.
Yes, and write it down. Because, yes, the trouble with an app, because that's what I get a lot of people inquiring to me. They say, oh, well, I use this app and it says I've got this in this house, this sign, this placement. And then I've used another one, it's telling me somewhere else. It's like, well, the planet's only ever going to be in one sign. Houses might alter a bit. But you're not going to have your moon in a different sign or, blah, blah, blah. But if you're using different apps and the apps aren't accurate, you're a bit sort of stuffed there. But the writing of your chart and creating it, the thing that I could never have done back then is there's a lot of mathematics involved. There was a lot of calculation and divisions and then GMT, and it's like, eek. I didn't get into astrology until computer programs were invented, and I had a very basic one that just had, well, not just had, did do all the things that are necessary and created the chart. So I never would have been an astrologer if computer. And I'm not talking about apps. I'm talking about computer programs hadn't been invented. I couldn't have done astrology. Whilst my auntie did. So I had an auntie and a Catholic auntie. I hasten to add. She had the ephemeris and she could draw a chart up. But yeah, she did my chart when I was younger, but I didn't understand any of it. I used to keep telling people I got Gemini in my first house. I haven't. I've got Moon in Gemini, which is in the 10th. But I would love to be able to. I know how the calculations work, but to be able to do it, and then I've got to take an hour off here, and then sidereal time. You've got to take that into account. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but I have talked to people that do it, and they say the joy of doing that, even though it's a struggle, is that you really, like you say, get to know in a deeper level and a deeper way exactly what that chart is all about. Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I would also say but this is only my personal preference. Find one house system that you like and stick with it. Don't do horary in one and Koch for horary and Regiomontanus for another for natal charts. And it's that there's something about it. If you think that one system works for you, stick with it, because there are no different astrologies. There's only one astrology. I know there's predictive astrology and there's natal astrology, but still, there's only one body of astrology. So stick with one house system. It'll do you good. Because
Yeah,
I was
I've never changed. I've stuck with equal
always,
house, so yeah, I'm
yeah,
perfectly happy with it. And I can work and I can look at a chart and I can know what it is I'm going to be talking about or can help the person with. But and I've done that for 30 years. But I did interview somebody a while back, and he uses different house systems for different things.
mm,
So to determine different stuff. But yeah, I'm no good at maths anyway. I can add up, and that's about it. Everything else has to be a calculator. But well, the other thing is astrolabe. So just go back to astrolabes for a minute. I have got one. It's not a real one because it's made out of wood, but it is a proper astrolabe, and it just about works for where I live. And that was very interesting, sort of seeing the moving parts of it, how they used those as a method to be able to create a chart. And
yeah,
this is ages old, and that still works. Well, it would still work, but it still works today. That this like a little now that's like a little calculator and astrolabe, and some of them are
I've got a
beautiful.
brass one, big one. Yeah,
Have you? You got a metal one?
yeah, brass. Yeah, it's lovely. Like I always say, it's the iPad of our ancestors
Mm.
who do things with it. I mean, you can go back as far as Chaucer, who wrote for his little son how to use the astrolabe. So it's a really good thing.
Oh, they're terribly clever. They're absolutely lovely, and some of them are so beautiful as well. I went to an exhibition at the British Museum in London, and they had it just on astrolabes. And I got on the train, I went for Bath, and I spent the whole day looking at. They were beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And these were some of them were very old, so they were like from Arab countries and stuff,
Yeah.
and but that's what they used then, and that they were so beautiful. They were absolutely lovely, and they can still be used today. But I think it's and they're quite quick. It's quite easy. They're not, once you get the hang of how to use them, they're not hard to use. But obviously, you couldn't use one unless you understood the symbols, because it's got lots of symbols on it and stuff.
Yeah. You need a manual.
Yeah, yeah. But you could also use them apparently for like seeing where the sun is in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I haven't learned how to do either. I've read about it, but I haven't learned to do it. There's so much in astrology that I don't know, but I can't do. Um, so Peter, tell me about this new book that you're writing. Tell me a bit more about it.
About the popes and the
Yes. So how
yeah.
far have you got?
Well, I'm in the research phase.
Mhm.
So I have because I thought I found out if there's even enough material there. There is on my website an article for the glory of God, popes and Renaissance astrologers, which was also published in the AA magazine some point ago.
Mhm.
If anybody wants to find out what this will be about, read the article. A few thousand people have read it so far,
Cool.
so it's an interesting thing to be. And I have been encouraged. I have been encouraged by people who know to write it, the book. So
Yes, but it's nice because also in the title you can have the word Pope and you can have astrology in the same sentence. And people don't even. I mean, I did do a podcast a little while back about the Book of Hours.
Yeah.
So this is a medieval thing, and they used the signs of the zodiac. You know, the sun is now in this sign, and blah blah blah. And that and they were prayer books, but they had the signs of the zodiac and whatever, and the planets and Saturn and stuff in them. So there were two things that existed, coexisted, yeah, until they didn't. But they used to get along. And I think it's interesting the present Pope, so this is Pope Leo, just so happens, even though he's a Virgo, he's got Moon in Leo. And I thought it was quite, I don't know if he knows any astrology, but I just thought it was quite interesting why he chose the name Leo. I mean, he chose
Yeah.
it for some other reason, but I did his chart. I thought, oh, how interesting is that? You know, if you were his astrology, you'd be going, well, you've chosen the right name because that's your moon sign. Yes, popes and astrologers. Oh, it's going to be very interesting. It'll be lovely when it comes out. And then when you're like you've created your books and stuff, you how do you bring them out into the world? Do you put them on your blog? They go onto Amazon. What else happens with them?
Well, I just let them run and I let my publisher do what he does
Hmm.
and hope that there will be enough interest created that has a knock-on effect
Hmm.
to to get people interested.
Cool. Well, obviously you have to keep the AA informed because we have got the library.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Philip Graves,
Pardon,
long
yes, Philip.
long-standing friend of mine, so I know he does wonderful things.
Oh, he does, and the books he's got. I've visited the library, and I said, "Show me your oldest book." And of course, there was me expecting to hold it. It wasn't going to let me hold it, you know. And it wasn't going to lay it flat. He was holding the book like that. I said, "Oh, just let me look at it then."
How mean of him. You could have put socks on.
No, this is like something really, really valuable. Like, you know, you don't want my jammy fingers on it. But yeah, there was some beautiful, beautiful stuff there. And it's nice that he's got all the way through the years and he understands, all the way through the years, all the different things that astrologers have got up to. So, yeah, very interesting. Peter, thank you very much for being with us today. We will put a link on the show notes, we'll put the link to your blog and also to your books that are on Amazon. And thank you very much for being with us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
Bye.